He was 72 years old when it happened. It was just another morning quiet familiar, nothing out of the ordinary. Alone in his bedroom, he followed the same routine he'd kept for years. A little private moment, just a small release to start the day. He never imagined it would be his last. But something was different this time. His heart started pounding. His chest tightened. His vision turned hazy. And within moments, he collapsed. By the time the paramedics arrived, it was already too late. The act itself didn't kill him, but how and when he did, it did. Title slide advice for the elderly. What you're not being told about morning masturbation. Hi, I'm Dr. James. I'm a board-certified urologist, and I've spent over 30 years helping older men navigate the sensitive, often overlooked intersection between aging health and sexuality. And today, I want to talk about something that nearly every man does, yet few fully understand the risks. Because here's the truth. Masturbation isn't the problem, but 4 specific mistakes, especially in the morning, can quietly strain your circulation, damage your nerves, and even put your heart at risk. And most men don't even see it coming. In this video, I'll walk you through those silent dangers, explain why your body is most vulnerable in the early hours, and offer safer, smarter alternatives to protect both your manhood and your life. And later, I'll reveal the best time of day when self-pleasure becomes not just safe, but actually beneficial. So if you're ready to take control of your health, stay sharp, and keep your strength in later life, this might be one of the most important videos you watch. Before we dive in, if you're someone who values clear, practical advice that actually helps you live better, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. I create real content for real men, especially those over 60 who want to live with more confidence, clarity, and strength. And hey, if what I'm saying already resonates with you, just type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and listening. If you're not sure yet, type 0. I read every response. Mistake 1, rushing it on an empty stomach and dehydrated body. Let me start with something most older men are never told but desperately need to hear. Every week I speak with patients who begin their day the same quiet way. They wake up early before the rest of the house stirs. They haven't eaten. They haven't had water. Their body is still waking up after hours of rest. And without thinking, they begin to pleasure themselves. No stretching, no preparation, just a moment of release. To them, it feels harmless, maybe even necessary. But to their aging heart, stiffening blood vessels, and delicate nervous system, it's a silent ambush. Here's what you need to understand. After the age of 60, the male body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Blood pressure becomes harder to regulate. Circulation slows. Muscles are tighter in the morning. And most importantly, your body wakes up in a dehydrated, low-sugar, low-oxygen state. When you stimulate sexual arousal in that condition, it puts your cardiovascular system under sudden sharp stress. Your heart rate spikes, your blood vessels constrict, and blood rushes to the pelvic region, while your brain and heart still desperately need it. For some men, this leads to dizziness or fatigue. For others, fainting, drops in blood pressure, or worse, cardiac events. I had one patient last year, 63 years old, seemingly healthy. He collapsed in his bathroom minutes after climax. He thought it was a panic attack. It turned out to be a mini stroke. Why? Because he didn't understand how fragile the body is first thing in the morning. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up literally and figuratively. You need to treat your body with respect, especially at this stage of life. Drink a glass of water, do a few stretches, eat something small, even just a banana or toast. Then if you choose to be intimate with yourself, your body will be ready. Remember, this isn't about shame or fear. It's about giving your body the preparation it deserves after carrying you all these years. Now, if that first mistake felt eye-opening, wait until you hear the second. It's something millions of men do every single morning without realizing it's slowly destroying their ability to feel pleasure, connect emotionally, and even stay motivated in life. And no one's talking about it. Let's move on to, earlier we talked about how morning arousal, when rushed and done on an empty, unprepared body, can quietly wear down your heart and nervous system. But there's something even more subtle and far more dangerous, because some men don't just damage their bodies. They end up rewiring their brains without even realizing it. It often begins innocently. A man stumbles across a video online, just one, just curiosity. He watches, he enjoys, then he closes the tab and moves on. No big deal, or so he thinks. But over time, it becomes a morning ritual, a quick dopamine hit, a burst of stimulation before the day begins. And day after day, year after year, that little habit begins to reshape the way his brain experiences desire. He no longer craves real intimacy. He craves speed, novelty, pixels. His brain gets trained to expect instant pleasure without effort, without connection, without depth. And the most tragic part, he doesn't even realize it's happening. What started as harmless entertainment turns into something far more costly. It dulls his sensitivity. It chips away at his confidence. And slowly, silently, it damages his ability to truly bond with a real person. If that sounds like something you've been doing, if you're starting your mornings with this habit, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to ask you to pause, to step back, to ask yourself, what am I really feeding my brain first thing in the morning? Because what you choose to consume at the start of your day shapes your thoughts, your energy, your mood, and your chemistry for the rest of it. So choose peace over pixels. Choose presence over porn. It may feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable, but your mind, your body will thank you because you deserve real connection, not just an artificial rush from a glowing screen. And if that message hits close to home, you're not alone. But brace yourself, because the next mistake might surprise you even more. Why? Because it has nothing to do with what you watch and everything to do with how you position your body during climax. You see, I've treated hundreds of men who unknowingly were cutting off their own circulation every single morning. Let me explain. Mistaked masturbating in a tensed or seated posture that cuts off blood flow. This is one of those subtle habits that seems too small to matter, but over time it can cause a world of damage. I once had a patient, 74 years old, still proud, still strong, still living alone. He told me he did the same thing each morning. Woke up, sat on the edge of the bed, leaned forward, got it done. Quick, efficient, no thought, just habit. When I asked him how he felt afterward, he paused. Lately, he said, numb, takes longer, doesn't feel like it used to. What he didn't realize was this. He was literally compressing the very blood vessels and nerves that make pleasure possible. When you sit hunched forward, thighs squeezed, abs tight, you create tension in your pelvic floor. And when you do this day after day, especially as you age, you put chronic pressure on your pudendal nerve and internal iliac arteries, the very lifelines of sensation, erection, and bladder control. You might not notice it at first, a little tingling, a little delay, a little less feeling, but it builds. And most men mistake it for just aging. In reality, their posture is slowly starving their lower body of oxygen and blood. You're trying to awaken pleasure, but you're unknowingly strangling the very flow that makes pleasure possible. So I gave my patient one simple instruction. Change your position, lay back, support your hips. Let the pelvis stay open and relaxed. Within weeks, he reported sharper sensitivity, deeper relaxation, and more ease in climax. It was like his body had come back online. And that's the thing. Sometimes the smallest adjustment can change everything. Most older men were never taught this. No one ever explained how position affects function, but it matters a lot more than you think. Now, while posture affects your circulation, there's another mistake that runs even deeper. One that doesn't affect your blood or muscles, but attacks something far more delicate. Your emotions. Let's talk about it. Mistake 4, morning guilt and shame. That spiked cortisol. This may be the most invisible mistake of all, and yet it leaves scars far deeper than anything physical ever could. It's not about how you move. It's not about what you watch. It's about what you feel afterward. For many men, that feeling is shame. Maybe it's rooted in strict religious teachings. Maybe it's cultural conditioning. Maybe it's the weight of loneliness, waking up alone, craving connection, and settling for a few moments of relief. Whatever the cause, the result is the same. He finishes. And then comes that voice in his head, you shouldn't have. The regret, the judgment, the silent belief that pleasure must equal weakness. But here's what most men don't realize. That emotional spiral doesn't just bruise your spirit, it changes your biology. Guilt triggers a flood of cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. And when cortisol spikes early in the day, it doesn't just put you in a bad mood. It suppresses testosterone, raises blood pressure, weakens your immune system, and even clouds your memory. I've had patients come in worried about brain fog, low energy, even erectile dysfunction. And time after time, we found the root cause wasn't physical, it was emotional stress. Your body listens to your beliefs. If you see yourself as dirty or broken, your body tenses. Your chemistry turns toxic. But if you allow yourself permission to feel joy even with yourself, your body softens. Hormones stabilize. Healing begins. You deserve that. You deserve peace even in private moments. Because no man should be punished mentally or hormonally for simply trying to feel human again. Most men think they only have two choices: shameful secrecy or silent suffering. But there's a third path, a healthier way to honor your body, care for your mind, and still enjoy intimacy without guilt or damage. And it all starts with timing, because timing isn't just about convenience. It can be the difference between healing and harm. In just a moment, I'll reveal the ideal time of day when self-pleasure becomes not only safe, but actually beneficial for your health and hormones. Stay with me. We've just explored how guilt, poor posture, and bad timing can quietly sabotage a man's health, especially in the most private moments. But what if I told you that just by adjusting when you choose to be intimate with yourself, you could transform that moment from something depleting into something deeply healing? Let's talk about timing and why it matters more than most men ever realize. Rewritten content, ideal time, and final thoughts. If there's one question I hear again and again from men over 60, it's this: Doctor, when is the right time? And after everything we've covered, the risks of rushing into it in the morning, the emotional damage from shame, and the physical harm from poor habits, this question becomes more than just a matter of routine. It becomes deeply personal, because choosing the right time isn't just about scheduling convenience. It's about respecting your natural rhythm. It's about aligning with your energy levels instead of pushing against them. It's about choosing a moment that supports healing, not stress. So here's what I tell my patients clearly and without judgment. The healthiest time for self-pleasure after age 60 is in the late afternoon to early evening, between 4:00 p.m. and 7:00 p.m. Why that window? Because by then your body has had time to wake up fully. You're hydrated, you've eaten, your heart rate has stabilized, your blood circulation is stronger, and most importantly, your cortisol, the stress hormone that spikes in the morning, has finally tapered off. And here's the kicker: around this time of day, testosterone levels naturally begin to rise again. Yes, even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. That subtle hormone shift opens a window for renewed vitality, focus, and arousal. And there's more. Your nervous system is calmer by this time. Your mind is less scattered. You're no longer feeling the pressure of the day's to-do list. You can actually slow down, be present, and enjoy the experience instead of rushing through it like a chore. That simple shift changes everything. What once felt mechanical starts to feel meaningful. What once left you drained may now leave you at peace. I remember one man in his mid-60s who came to me discouraged. He said, "Doctor, it's like my body has stopped responding. I feel numb." We talked through his habits. Turned out he was forcing the act first thing every morning, half asleep under stress, and always rushed. I gave him one piece of advice: don't stop, just wait. Wait until your body is ready. Give yourself a quiet afternoon moment, not as a coping mechanism, but as a small act of care. Weeks later, he came back smiling. "It feels human again," he said. "It feels like me." That right there, that's the power of honoring timing, because intimacy, even with yourself, is not just about performance. It's about dignity. It's about feeling alive again. So if you've been going through the motions, wondering why things feel off lately, maybe the change you need isn't in what you're doing, but in when you're doing it. Try the shift and let your body show you the difference. Because yes, it's never too late to reclaim your health. One quiet, respectful moment at a time. Final reflections, bringing it home. By now, maybe you're seeing things in a new light. And if you are, if something in this message has landed in your heart, then let me tell you something clearly. You are not broken. You are not alone. And you are not the only man over 60 trying to make sense of what's going on behind closed doors. For over 3 decades, I've spoken with men just like you, strong, proud, private. Men who carry years of habits, unanswered questions, and quiet fears they've never dared to say aloud. And here's what I've learned. No matter how old we get, the desire to feel connected, to feel pleasure, to feel alive, it never disappears. It might grow quieter. It might become more complex, but it never goes away. What does change is how vulnerable that desire becomes when we ignore what the body is trying to tell us. We've talked today about 4 common mistakes: skipping breakfast and depleting your heart, watching arousing media that rewires your brain, sitting or tensing your body in damaging positions, feeling guilt that spikes stress hormones and kills desire. At first glance, they seem minor, just habits, right? But over time, those little choices change your hormones. They restrict blood flow, they reshape your brain, and slowly, they erode your confidence. All while you tell yourself it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. Because your heart, your hormones, your circulation, your mental health, they all matter now more than ever. As we age, every choice carries more weight. And that's not something to fear. It's something to honor. Because your body still deserves care. You still deserve joy. And here's the truth. This isn't about giving up pleasure. It's about choosing it more wisely, more mindfully, at the right time in the right way. Not as a secret, not as a crutch, but as an act of self-respect. That's why I shared this message. That's why I told you about the ideal time from late afternoon to early evening when your body is naturally prepared, when your mind is settled, and when self-pleasure becomes not something harmful, but something healing. So if you've been stuck in old routines and wondering why it no longer feels the same, now you know. And now you have the power to change, gently, quietly, but with intention. I hope this gave you clarity. I hope it gave you permission. And more than anything, I hope it reminded you of something that too many men forget. You're still a man, with needs, with worth, and with the right to feel good in your own skin, even now, maybe, especially the now. So take what you've learned, let it support you. And if this message spoke to something deep inside, please share it with someone else who may need to hear it too. Because yes, we're all getting older, but we don't have to do it in silence or in shame. We can choose dignity, and we can do it together. If this video helped you understand your body just a little better, if it made you feel a little less alone, please take a moment to subscribe. I create content specifically for men in their 60s and beyond, because your health, your voice, and your dignity still matter. And if you're still watching, type "I'm still learning" in the comments. Let's remind each other that growth doesn't end with age. It just begins to mean more.